From the deep, dark hollows of southeastern Kentucky, where the moonshine is strong, the stories are strange and scary, and your neighbor is probably your cousin. This is Appalachia, Not So Quiet. Hey everybody, welcome back to Appalachia Not So Quiet. I am your host, Hillbilly Phantom, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife and co-host,
Appalachian Shade.
Hello, my darling. So, are you ready to be a little spooky tonight? Talk about some haints and boogers, some ghost stories.
Sounds good.
I love doing the ghost stories. I love it.
You're extreme with it.
Yeah. I've still got a few stories up my sleeve.
I've got one I don't think you've ever heard.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
All right.
I've been keeping this a secret all day.
Secret spooky story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what you got then?
Okay, this is called The Drowned Mine of Car Creek. We're talking about Car Creek Lake. Well, we call it Car Fork Lake.
Yeah, Car Fork Lake.
Yeah. So this happened in like the 1930s, and part of a sassafras fork mine collapsed, and 7 men were sealed off when a section of roofing gave away. Rescue crews worked day and night, but by the time they broke through, it was too late. The bodies were never brought to daylight, and the mine was deemed unstable and sealed shut. Families grieved, but some whispered that the men still lingered underground, trapped between rocks for eternity. So, decades later, when the Army Corps of Engineers dammed Car Creek or Car Fork Creek Lake, whatever you want to call it, Car Fork. I call it Car Fork, so that's what I'm gonna call it. It's Car Fork Lake.
Car Fork Lake.
The water creeped higher and higher, shallow hollers and homesteads. It filled the mouth of the Sassafras Fork mine, bringing the tragedy beneath a quiet lake surface.
Okay.
Locals said it was wrong to drown the dead twice. Yeah. So ever since, strange stories circled around Car Fork Lake. Fishermen say some nights a faint orange glow rises from beneath the water, like a miner's lamp, flickering in the blackness. Others hear the hollow ring of picks striking stone echoing across the lake. And campers at Car Fork State Park have woken to sounds of coughing, like the miners cough.
Yeah.
Deep and raspy, and it comes from like a blackened lung dust. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like black lung.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some claim to hear voices calling names and the roll call of a crew that never came out. The earliest tale comes from a boy who fell asleep in a boat. He swore he saw pale faces pass against the ripple water below, and mouths open and closing as if they were still gasping for air. So folks in Knott County say that the Sassafras Fork mine never left. They worked the endless shift below Car Creek Lake, lanterns glowing faint beneath the waves. And if you're out on the water when the fog drifts in, don't follow any light shining under the surface, because those lamps aren't leading you home. They're trying to take you down with them into the drowned mine.
That's right. Yeah, don't follow any strange lights into the water.
Now, I've been on the lake fishing when it gets all foggy, and that alone is creepy as heck because you can't see anything.
You never witnessed anything out there, though?
I have not.
Nothing unexplainable or supernatural?
No.
Not heard anything?
Oh, you hear stuff all the time because the lake gets really quiet.
Yeah.
Because you can hear stuff like falling in the water and things like that, fish flopping, and or like you might think it is.
You think it's fish flopping. What if it's the miners?
Right.
That's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that story about Car Fork Lake.
Oh.
That's creepy. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if anybody's ever tried to investigate such a thing. You know exactly where that sassafras mine.
Well, I would assume
exactly
it
where
may
it was
be
at
down
the
toward
lake.
the dam area because that's
Right.
sassafras.
Yeah,
so.
that's the sassafras area. That's interesting. I wonder if it's right there at the dam. Might be. So sassafras is kind of a spooky place. I've heard several stories out of sassafras. I knew some people that lived over there at one time. There's an old school there, and said that people had seen stuff in that old school.
Yeah, the one in Yellow Creek with the elevator.
Yeah, it's just right there.
I think the Indian Bottom Association does some services there, or have a meeting there, like a Baptist,
Oh,
a
really?
regular Baptist. Yeah, or I've seen them do one there before.
I know I've had people tell me they've seen, looks like people standing in the windows when there's nobody there. There were some more stories of places in Sassafras. I don't really remember all of them. There's just, like I said, some friends that told me some stories, some experiences they had had over in that area before, way back in high school days. But yeah, I'd never heard that one though. That's a cool story. I like that one. I guess I'll give my story. Like I said, I still have several left, but tonight I'm going to share a story about a house me and some of my friends played music in.
Oh yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah. So we had a band, me and a couple of my friends.
Was it a good band?
Yeah, it was awesome. Of course. Come on. The best band ever. So we had the issue of nowhere to really practice. Like we kind of jumped around. We'd play at my mom and dad's house whenever they weren't around.
Oh my goodness.
Or we'd set up and play at another one of my friends' houses. One of the other guys, when his mom and dad wasn't around, we'd set up there and play. So we were always packing our equipment around. It was.
How did you fit that in your mom's living room?
It was. You move all the furniture out of the way, and
okay.
Yeah, it made just enough room.
She has a big living room, but with all the bookshelves and everything, I'd like to see your double bass drum set in there.
Well, I didn't have a drum set quite that big.
Oh, okay.
At that time, it was more toned down. It was just a single bass drum with
beginner set.
Yeah, with a double bass pedal. And yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of room, but it was enough room for us to just sit up and jam. So anyway, a few years later, after I graduated, we had another friend whose family had an old house that nobody was living in. Still had power and all that stuff. And they were basically like, as long as y'all keep the power bill low, you can use it. We were like, okay, good deal. So this old house was very old. In fact, we had several people tell us this was the oldest house on the holler that it was on. So we bring all of our equipment and set up. It has a basement, but not much of one. And it was full of junk. But the main part of the house, you had the living room. As soon as you walked in, there was a kitchen off to the left. And there was a closet in the living room. And then there was a long hallway, and there was 2 bedrooms down that hallway, one on the left, one on the right. And at the end of the hallway was like the laundry area and then the bathroom. Now, the first thing we noticed was that it was very cold in the closet of the living room. For whatever reason, it would be dead heat of summer. You open that closet and you could just feel this cold air. Like it was just a cold pocket of air standing in this closet. And of course, the eerie feeling of being watched. Now, I went in this house and practiced by myself on several occasions, and it always felt like there was somebody else in there with me. I could feel somebody standing at the other end of the hallway looking directly at me. But every time I would turn and look down the hallway, nobody was there. Now, the thing about this house is you had to walk all the way down to the end of that hallway into the laundry area. That's where the main breaker box was. So that's where we had to turn the power on and off. So we come in completely dark and have to walk all the way down that hallway. And I basically ran down the hallway because it just felt like there was something in there with you, and like something was going to grab you as you were going down that hallway. And I would just run down that hallway and flip the breaker on so I'd have lights.
So you do get scared.
Well, yeah. It was just this really uneasy feeling. Like I said, it felt like something was about to touch you. Like there was somebody right behind you about to grab you by the shoulder. So it just kind of gave you this sense of urgency to, hurry up and get the lights on. Now, we had several experiences there. The guy that was playing guitar and singing in our band, he had his rig set up right there in front of that closet, and he stood in front of it. One night we're playing music, and he's over there with his guitar playing around, and we start into a song. We made it maybe a minute into that song, and all of a sudden he just about falls backwards over top of his guitar amp, and he catches himself up against the wall, and he's like, "Whoa, what the heck?" We all stopped playing. We're like, "What happened? What happened? Did you just trip over your amp?" He's like, "No, I was standing still, and something grabbed a hold of the back of my shirt and pulled me backwards."
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, "Whoa, that's awesome." He's like, "No, it wasn't." And then another time, we had a tendency to forget the key, but luckily the window in the kitchen wouldn't lock all the way. So you sit there and just kind of wiggled on it and it would pop open. We wiggled the window open and climbed through the window, and it's completely dark. It's nighttime and we haven't turned any of the lights on. So we climb through the window and we walk, kind of feeling our way through the kitchen into the living room to get to the door to unlock it to let everybody else in. The same guy, our singer slash guitarist, is walking towards the door, and all of a sudden you hear smack. Oh! And I was like, what happened? What happened? He gets the door open, we get the lights on, and his microphone stand with his microphone on it, which usually sat over near the closet where he stood at and played, was mysteriously sitting right in front of the door, and he walked right into it. Yeah. I have no idea how that happened because it would have never been in front of that front door. Another time, another friend of mine that played guitar, he came down to the house just to kind of practice a little bit, waiting on the rest of us to get there. And he goes into the house and he sets his guitar down against the amp with the strings like facing, against the amp. So they're against the amp. He doesn't even have it plugged in yet. And all of a sudden he starts hearing guitar chords strumming through the amp. So there was music coming out of his amp and he hadn't even plugged it in yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was like, I'm.
So it just seemed to pick on him.
No, this was the guy who just played guitar. The other one was the guy who sang and played guitar. Now, at one point, not long after we started playing music here, my brother actually ended up playing bass guitar for us. So he was a witness to some of these ghostly shenanigans that seem to be happening here. So there's, 4 of us, including the people that were letting us use the place and stuff. We're all witnesses to a lot of these events. There was one time we came into the house and it was wintertime, so it was really cold. And the only sources of heat were these electric wall heaters. They had like the baseboard heaters, and then they also had the electric wall mounted heaters. And we came in there one time and it was hot. It was wintertime and it was hot in there. We're like, what? And we could see an orange glow coming from one of the bedrooms. And we went in there and one of the heaters, it was cranked all the way up and it was burning red hot and the power wasn't even turned on.
Wow.
We ran back, we turned it off right there at the switch, turned the switch all the way down, and then ran back there to look at the breakers, and the breakers were still off.
And that's when I would have made my exit. Been like, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of spine chilling, when these things happened, but we were just fascinated.
How old was this house though? Could it have been a faulty breaker, faulty wire?
Well, like I said, this was one of the oldest houses on the holler.
Yeah.
The house itself was probably over 100 years old, or at least close to 100 years old. Now, as far as the electrical stuff, I'm not sure how new that was or anything. But yeah, it very well could have been something faulty. But not long after that is when the friend that had let us use that place started telling us stories about the family that lived there before. And they were all like her cousins. And one of the children talked about the heaters coming on full blast and not being able to turn them off. He talked about an old man in coveralls and a mining helmet with a lantern on it coming into his room and playing with him.
Was this like a grandfather or something other to him, or just
No. Like I said, they were some of the family, but they weren't, from any of the people that had lived there before.
Right.
This house had been bought, and then they moved in there. I think they were paying rent. They were renting the place off of these people, and yeah, so no idea who that was, who the people were that lived in that place, back in those days when they would have had because he described this little boy described old style mining helmet with the old carbide lantern on the front of it. So, this would have been like 50s era miner.
It seemed like
maybe
Knott County
even earlier.
had a lot of accidents in the 90s.
Well,
mining
yeah,
accidents.
there's always been tragic mining accidents in the area. But then this little boy's mom and dad also chimed in and were discussing how they used to have items disappear in the house. Like they would put their car keys in a certain spot on the counter in the kitchen or something, and then they would go back, like a few hours later to get them, and they're not there. And they would search all over the house, and they would accuse each other and the little boy of taking the keys and hiding them somewhere or something. And then after, so long of searching and everything, all of a sudden the keys were back, but in a different spot. Now you can chalk some of that up to forgetfulness, I would think, but she was pretty certain at times. She's like, I know I put those there.
Say that all the time.
Right.
And you say they're not there, and then I'm like, here's the keys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that could just be the whole husbands can't see anything. But I mean, that's a kind of a classic paranormal thing, though.
Yeah.
It usually goes along with like poltergeist. It's items moving. They'll just disappear from their location and then show up sometime later in a different location, or even in the same location. Like, no, I know I looked here earlier and it wasn't there, but now here it is. So after hearing all this, having these experiences, of course, let's investigate. Let's ghost hunt this place. Ghostbusters. So we didn't really have, this was right at the beginning of my ghost hunting phase, I guess. We didn't really have anything special, but we did have a tape recorder that we used to record our practices with. And so we bought some blank tapes and decided we were just going to let that thing record while nobody was there. Turn it on to record and leave until enough time has passed for one side to record. Then we'd go over there, flip the tape over, hit record again and leave, wait for that side to finish recording, and then go get the tape and listen to it. And that's what we did. Well, after we get the tape at the end of this little experiment, and we're listening to it, you don't hear anything, nothing at all on the first side. So we flip it over to the second side. We listen all the way through, nothing at all until the very end, like the last, 3 seconds of the tape. You hear almost like a creaking sound, like the door opened, and maybe the floorboards creaking in the living room. And you hear, it almost sounds like a heartbeat. It's like, and it's like it starts getting louder, like it's getting closer and closer and closer to the microphone. It got so loud, it was like starting to distort the microphone and then the taping. So we were like, whoa, cool. We decided, we would definitely do that, try that experiment again. In the meantime, we had some more experiences. Mm-hmm. We took a candle and set it in front of that weird cold closet, and you could see air. Like, you'd set the candle in front of the closet and there was like constant air like coming out of that closet, cold air. You could see the flame of the candle flickering. Yeah. But you'd move it away from that anywhere else in the room,
it wouldn't do it,
and it wouldn't do it. It wouldn't flicker at all. But you set it in front of that and it was like this constant wind coming out of that closet. One of the big ones, though, that it seems like all of us experienced separately at different times were my drums playing by themselves.
Like a drum solo.
Yeah. A few of my friends, one of the guitarists and some other people that weren't in the band, they were just, friends that hung out when we played. After we got done practicing one night, all of us left except for these couple of friends. I wasn't there. I'd already left. So they're just hanging around on the other side of the creek from the house. This little wide area, that's where we would pull off and park. And they're just talking, laughing it up. And all of a sudden they start hearing random little drums. Doop, 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 doop. I'm like, what the heck? Then they'd hear some cymbals crashing. And they finally got curious enough. They went back to the house. It stopped when they started walking towards the house. And they went inside. They didn't see anything. Couldn't figure out what was going on. Another time, some other guys in the band, they came down early to wait on everybody else to get there for practice. And while they were just sitting in that same spot, hanging out, they started hearing random little drums. And my brother, I said he started playing bass guitar for us. He was leaving one night. I think he was the last one to leave, and he thought he'd forgot something. And he started to walk back toward the house, and he heard a cymbal, just a single cymbal crash. And he was like, okay.
Next time.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll wait till daylight. And then I heard it one time. I was the last one to leave. And as I was getting in my car, heard like some random drum hits. So, yeah, sounds like he's getting better. I don't know what could play drums, a mouse or something, running around on my drum set. I don't think that was it. It sounded.
No, I don't think they would be heavy enough to really make.
Yeah,
maybe on the snare, but like the other ones.
Yeah, it sounded like, pretty solid hits.
Yeah.
What I heard. So I don't think it was anything like that. So I'm not sure what that could be. Fast forward several months, we decided to do the experiment again with the tape recorder. But this time, we decided to put it in that bedroom, the same bedroom where the wall heater was on, and that's the same bedroom where this little boy had the same experience and the miner that would come in. So we set up the recorder, put in a fresh new tape, hit record, leave, come back a little while later, flip it over, hit record, leave, come back, get the tape, pop it in and listen to it. Now, at first, there's nothing. It's a pretty long stint of just quiet. But then we started hearing something. It was just like soft whispers or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept, we turned it up as loud as we could and, put our ears as close as we could. And the more we listened, the more clear the voices became. We started to hear individual voices.
So more than one.
Yeah, there were separate voices, different tones and things. Mm-hmm. And we started to hear some of the words. And then we started recognizing the voices. They were our voices.
Weird.
Yeah, it was my voice, my brother's voice, our singer and guitarist, all of our voices. And like I said, we kind of started hearing the words, and we realized that it was a conversation that we had about 2 weeks prior, sitting right there in the living room of that house. We were talking about a show that was coming up or something, and the set list we were going to play for the show, and then the tape ends. And we were like, how is this possible? We flip it over to the other side, and we didn't catch anything on the other side. But we had a good solid, 10 minutes or so of these voices. And like I said, it's really low and hard to hear at first, but eventually you're able to pick out our voices and the conversation we had 2 weeks prior. So I don't know, is there some kind of energy at that house that was recording us? Like I said, we recorded our practices and stuff, but we didn't record that conversation. And this was a brand new tape. So I know it wasn't
fresh out of the wrapper.
Yeah, I know it wasn't, an old tape, and it was just the ghost effect of, recording over an old tape or something. Now, at the end of our music career in this house, we played one final practice there. We had some friends over, and during that final practice, seems like whatever was there was really showing out.
Yeah.
Once again, my friend, the singer.
Farewell tour.
Yeah. My friend that was the singer / guitarist. He actually had the strings of his guitar, like something grabbed a hold of him and pulled, and we all saw his guitar like levitate up off of his body and then drop. And he said he could feel the strings, like tension on the strings, like something grabbed a hold of the strings of the guitar and lifted it up. Okay, this freaked him out to the point that he said, I'm getting away from this damn closet. He moved his entire rig over next to me in front of the hallway. We played through several more songs. Me and another friend that was there, just watching us practice, we both saw this. And it was pretty amusing because our singer, was being harassed.
It sounded like he had a rough time.
He did. Something like him. I don't know. But he's now in front of the hallway, and we see a coin. I think it was a quarter. It just comes flying down the hallway. I caught it out of the corner of my eye and turned my head just enough to see it smack him right in the back of the head.
Again, that's when I exit.
And like I said, this other friend that was just there watching us practice was sitting right there in that same area and also saw the coin. Like, I saw it. It just flew right out of the hallway and smacked you in the head. And yeah, so we called it quits. We was like, all right, well, I guess we're done.
Yeah. Seemed like it wanted to harm.
I mean, it didn't seem like it was really harmful. It was very aggravating.
Yeah.
So yeah, we that was the end of our musical career at that house. Now, several years later, the family that owned that house, they decided to tear it down. They bulldozed the entire area. Now, before the house went down, we decided to go back there one last time. And by this time, we had actually gotten some more equipment, ghost hunting related equipment. And we had like, the small digital recorders for voice recording. And then we had a high 8 digital camcorder. And then we had a Canon digital camera. I think we may have had some just regular 35 millimeter cameras too.
So you all must have hit it big because you came back fancy ghost hunting equipment.
We just got a little bit more sophisticated. So we came back with that stuff and we walked through the house, and it was basically just saying goodbye type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you have one last chance, to kind of show yourself to us and or let us know who you are. And the only thing we caught out of all that equipment, and I don't remember how many hours. It was a good 5 or 6 hours we spent investigating. All the questions we asked, none were answered until the very end. We walked into that bedroom, that famous bedroom, and one of my friends says, "We just want you to know that this place isn't going to be standing for much longer. They're tearing it down, and we just wanted to know if you're still here." And you hear a voice whisper, "We're here."
Nice.
Yeah, we're here. So apparently there was more than one.
Oh yeah, had to be.
Yeah, and that was the last piece of evidence, and then the house went down. That was the end of that story. But it was pretty awesome. Like I said, it was almost amusing sometimes the way our poor singer was harassed.
So, but let's go back to the drum part. This reminds me of I think you were out on the road when this happened, or it may have happened like right after you had left for work or something. I don't remember, our cameras caught it because there was nothing in the yard, but our cameras kicked on. And then the building, your drums started playing, and I sent it to you. It was like bump, 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 bump.
Yeah, it was. I was at work.
Yeah, and I was like, this just happened.
Yeah, that was strange because our camera system is motion activated, so usually there has to be some kind of motion to activate them. Well, there was nothing.
Yeah, it was just sound
on the camera that moved or anything. It's just the camera kicks on, and then you can hear random little drum hit. So that's something that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
When I heard that, because I was like, oh my God, that's just like the old practice house.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's a little drummer boy or something that's followed me around all these years.
Could be.
I like to play on my drums. So that was a little bit different experience from some of the other stuff I've had. Like I said, it was almost like poltergeist type of haunting, because there was actual things moving around, coins flying at people's heads, things of that nature. But now we're going to move on from my old practice house, haunted practice house, to a building that I'm sure a lot of people in our area are aware of and probably know a lot of the ghost stories surrounding it. It's a pretty famous haunted location in our area.
Yeah, in Perry County.
And that is the old Hazard ARH Hospital,
which is right now the Galen College of Nursing.
Yeah, nursing college.
Yeah, it's on Combs Road.
I don't think it's ever been empty.
If it was like for short periods of time.
Right, but after they built the new ARH, this place has always been kind of I think it was
extra office space.
Yeah, it was offices for a while, and then it was like nurse training and
extensions of doctors' offices.
It's been a lot of different things over the years, I'm pretty sure. And like you said, now it's the Galen School of Nursing. But there's all kinds of paranormal stories from that place. In fact, if you go during Halloween, they usually have like a little Halloween ghost tour type of thing through the road, and they tell you some of the stories of the ghosts that wander the halls of the old Hazard ARH building.
Yeah. So it's said over the years that this hospital saw everything from mine cave-ins to black lung patients gasping for air, mothers giving birth, and families saying goodbye for their last time.
Definitely mothers giving birth, because I was born at this hospital.
And they also say that a lot of old timers say that the hospital walls soaked up a lot of too much of sorrow to ever be quiet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know that they saw a lot of
Yeah.
tragedy, trauma, just horrible situations in that
Uh,
hospital. And one such ghostly story from this place is by a former employee named Rick King. So this incident occurred one night when King was working security for ARH. This is in the early 2000s. So he was alone at his post. The noisy hustle and bustle of the day was long gone, and he heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the stairwell. King sat up in his seat to listen. He wasn't expecting anyone, and at that hour, it wasn't common for anyone to happen by unannounced. The footsteps halted, and the door to the stairwell swung open and slammed shut. King got to his feet and took off toward the hall, alert and suspicious of this unusual activity. He was most likely accustomed to long, lonely nights in the ARH, and so something as simple as the sound of another person in the stairwell could have meant trouble, perhaps even an intruder. At the end of the hall, King pulled open the door he had heard slam only a minute before and stuck his head into the stairwell. It was silent and still. There was no reason to believe anyone had wandered in uninvited. I assumed it was the maintenance crew, King stated, but I found out in later days that they weren't working that night. King's next strange encounter came a short while later when he was again working the night shift at the old hospital. Fewer details are known about this particular incident, but in this instance, there was a second witness. King and another employee saw a man at the end of one of the hospital's long halls make his way from one of the rooms into the elevator. As the elevator dinged open and shut and disappeared to another floor, the two of them realized this elevator, which had notoriously been out of commission for 25 years, was still, in fact, out of commission. It had never been repaired. The old ARH building was built in the late 1960s and hasn't been used for patients since the mid 80s. The old ARH had functioned primarily as office space for the medical administration. Being as old as it is and with no imminent need for construction, some parts of the buildings are defunct. As you'd imagine, accommodations like the elevators aren't always the highest priority.
Yeah, I have a story about the elevators as well. So apparently they're never empty. There's reports that nurses who worked the night shift or like evening, say the nurses that are in college that do the evening shift to come in for
Right.
classes, come in the evenings and do evening classes. They tell that the elevator would stop on the surgical floor like in the middle of the night and the doors would open and there would be nobody there at all.
Hmm.
Yep. And you could hear boots walking down the hall afterward. Like when it was a hospital, they say even like when the patients was asleep, you could hear footsteps in the hallway. Like it would just be dead silent.
Yeah.
But there's even nursing students there now reporting that this is happening.
Even when it was still a functioning hospital, there were ghost stories about this place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a big deal
Yeah.
in the area as far as haunted places go. Now there is another tale that I ran across. It was another employee. This is a former janitor, custodian, who worked the night shift. And he claimed to have a bit of a soft spot for the spooky lore of the ARH building. Heard many of the stories and rumors attached to ARH and its history, but it was the story of the 1976 Letcher County, Scotia mine disaster that really stuck with him. This particular accident is considered one of the worst mine disasters in U.S. history. Following the disaster, most, if not all, of the mine victims ended up in the morgue of that facility. This particular employee shared how on several occasions he and his coworkers heard phantom voices so clear and distinct they assumed it to be other members of the staff. Each time they would go looking for the source of the chatter, they always found the halls quiet and empty, not a soul in sight. He also offered up one of the strangest accounts in which he recalled hearing what sounded like someone throwing books against a wall. He began to chase the sound, searching for the source of the ruckus, and though he wasn't able to find an explanation, he did discover a room of empty bookshelves and piles of books and magazines strewn around the floor.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't think that I've ever been inside that building. I've been on the outside.
So you've never actually been in?
Not that I'm aware of, unless I was like a younger child and went in there.
Well, like I said, I was born there. Obviously, I don't remember that.
Right.
But I have went through the ghost tour that
Mhm.
they do at Halloween. I've went through that a couple of times. And there's one story I haven't run across, but they tell you this story on the little ghost tour. And it's about somebody who hung themselves out of one of the windows, and that sometimes you can see the silhouette of this guy hanging from a noose outside the windows of the hospital.
Cool.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's cool. That would be cool to see that, to document that.
What about the pale woman that's standing in the nursery?
The pale woman, is this a woman in white type of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that she looks through the glass at the bassinets. Staff says that she appears, especially when a newborn is in distress, and that no one knows who she is, but some claim that she's a mother who died in childbirth in the hospital in earlier days.
Yeah. I think I actually have heard. I believe they tell that one on the ghost tour as well.
And I've actually heard people that worked as office staff say that they've seen the woman in white.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at the nursery. So
A lot of people have seen things there. I've heard all kinds of stories from people.
just about every employee or person that works there, is taking
Yeah.
classes there, have experienced something.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's had an experience there. I had a cousin of mine that was a nurse for ARH, and yeah, she used to tell stories about things that she would hear and see at that old hospital when she worked there, because she was a nurse back then.
I don't know if the lights are still up, but I remember a lot of them talking about the call lights blinking on empty rooms, and they'd switch them off.
Oh yeah.
And then they'd have to go back in because they'd come back on. So,
Yeah, that was a common problem. Like even when it was just used as like office space, I know somebody that was there at that time, and they talked about how the call lights and stuff would just go off, and most of them weren't even hooked up anymore.
or what about what they call the miners' room, and like it was on the older wings of the hospital, and that's where they
Yeah.
kept like the black lung patients and stuff.
Probably
Or-
some of those miners
Yeah.
that were lost in the
And
Letcher County.
like you said, the orderlies or the custodians would refuse to mop alone because they swore they heard like deep rattling coughs, like the black lung cough coming from inside.
Oh yeah, I'd say it's seen its fair share of mine victims.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or just people coming there being treated for black lung. Also, former staff have said the old morgue at the ARH was never cold enough, and orderlies have said that sometimes after bodies had been wheeled in there, that they would hear knocking inside the drawers.
That's creepy.
Yeah, and a few swore that the sheets would be tugged off the carts by unseen hands. A lot of people didn't want to go to the basement, like they avoided it. I ain't going down there.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Well, yeah, I probably would. I'd go down there with some ghost hunting equipment. That's a really interesting building. I always wanted to ghost hunt it. I wonder if anybody has. Seems like I remember somebody was actually granted access to do like an investigation one time, but I'm not sure who it was.
And then you mentioned about, the person hanging themselves, she could see like a silhouette out of the window.
Right.
Well, there's also what they call the widow on the hill.
Uh-huh.
And that's a face staring out of the upper window.
Ooh.
Yeah. Says that local drivers pass by at night and can sometimes see the face out of the window. Even when that wing of the hospital is dark and closed off, a gaunt pale face watching the parking lot as though waiting for someone who's never going to come home.
Creepy. Yeah, that place is full of ghosts.
It is. There's even YMT has a segment that they did on it.
Yeah, they did one several years ago. It was during Halloween.
Mm.
Yeah, that I think I remember one of the years I went through the ghost tour. But yeah, I remember seeing that story. We probably should have tried to play that. So yeah, there you go. Hazard ARH, another spooky building in the Appalachian Mountains. There's all kinds of them.
Try to come check that out around Halloween. Watch for them to post if they're going to do ghost tours.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention the last several years if they still been doing those or not.
I think they let certain groups come in and do investigations. Like you just got to talk to the right people.
Maybe we need to go investigate.
Maybe till something touches me.
Yeah, you said you want to go on investigation.
I do until something touches me.
Well, yeah, we're going to have to go on one sometime. We need to find a good spooky place to take you and do a little ghost investigating.
And I'll grab my old granny depends.
Your old granny depends. So you don't poop yourself. I thought it was just aliens you pooped yourself over.
I'm just being I'm being cautious if something touches me.
Oh,
Just for precautionary
Yeah.
measures.
well, like I said, I've done plenty of investigations. I've never been touched or scratched or, I felt like something kind of tugging at my clothes before, but I've never had anything like grab me or anything like that. So I may poop my pants if that were to happen.
I know, and I don't want to bring nothing home with me.
Yeah, that's something you want to try to avoid.
And you know me, accidents tend to happen.
But I don't think clumsy is what's going to make a ghost attached to you.
No, but they'll follow me home. Just my luck.
Maybe we'll get around to doing that one of these days. It'd be cool to do a ghost investigation for the podcast.
Live.
Yeah, do a live podcast ghost investigation.
Yeah.
That'd
That
be kind of
sounds
cool.
interesting.
Yeah. We'll have to
We'll
try
take more than just this, though. Like I said, I will bail on you so fast if something touches me.
Yeah,
so,
we'll have to get others involved.
yeah.
So if you get too scared, you can just sit and watch the monitors. That's definitely something for us to look into, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to try that. But I think that we've reached the end of our latest ghostly episode. I hope that all of you out there have enjoyed listening. We have broke 450.
450.
Yeah, we're over 450 listens.
We said if we get to 500, we're going to do a giveaway, a merch giveaway.
Yeah, we might have to.
It's probably going to happen about Wednesday.
Well, you think so?
I think so.
Think we'll hit that 500 mark?
I think so. So long as
I hope
everybody
so.
likes, follows, and shares, leave us a comment, tell
That's
your
right.
friends.
Yeah, you got let everybody know. Come over and listen to Appalachian Not So Quiet. You can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio.
And then we're on X. And
Yeah.
we're also on TikTok.
That's right.
So we do post content on TikTok that we're referring to in some of our episodes.
Yeah, if we have relevant information, news stories, things of that nature, pictures. Last time we did ghost stories, we shared the video from Frozen Creek and some of the pictures that a friend of mine got. Yeah.
His adventure.
Yeah, we shared all those on TikTok. So anytime you want to check out some of the things we're talking about, we probably have a TikTok.
The lady in white from our yard.
Yeah. And we
that's
had
one
that
of the
on
first
there.
ones we
Yeah.
posted.
And then we have an X account too, so go check us out on X. Usually we're just posting our links to our episodes on there, but we may get more involved on X as we continue to grow. So yeah, help us grow our followers. Be sure to recommend us, share us to everybody, and then leave us comments. We're always looking for show ideas. If you've got a good story or something you want to share with us, then leave us a comment. Let us know.
Well, Wednesday or Friday we'll be giving away something free.
Yeah, you might be able to get you some free merch. We might do you want to do a comment thing, like comment. I want merch. Yeah. And then, we'll throw your name in a hat and we'll draw out a winner.
That'll work.
That sounds like a good idea. We have a lot of good ideas.
We think.
Yeah, at least to us, they're good ideas. Yeah. All right. Well, from us to you, thank you for listening. We hope you'll come back and check us out again. I am Hillbilly Phantom.
And I'm Appalachian Shade.
And this is Appalachian Not So Quiet. Come back and check us out on the next one. Till then, we'll see y'all. Watch out for them boogers.